Hey gang, this is Mike with my real estate dojo. And before I head out to the title company, I want to explain to you guys three ways. I'm sorry, not three ways. I want to explain to you 4 ways you can make money doing subject to deals. Okay. Now, I'm going to explain to you guys what a subject to is, and then I'm going to explain 4 ways you can make money from it. And so let's go ahead and dive in. A subject to is a strategy, a creative financing strategy where you're able to buy a real estate property without getting a loan from the bank, without having the cash, and all you're doing is using the existing loan that's in place already from the seller, okay? The motivated seller in these cases. And with this strategy, like I said before, you don't need any credit, you don't need any money. And the great thing is, you could buy properties without all the liability associated with it. Now, just because you don't need any money up front, or you don't need a lot of money up front, or you don't need to put it on your credit, you want to make sure that you do have money because you're making promises to people. So let's go ahead and pull the curtain back. 4 ways you can make money with a subject to deal. The very first way is you could buy the property subject to. Again, you could buy the property subject to, and you could turn it into a rental property. That's exactly what I do. I'll buy properties at a deep discount or marginal discount, whatever I can negotiate, but I prefer to buy it at a deep discount. But I made significant money buying properties at 10-15% below market, hold them 6-7. The longer you hold them, the better it is, and make pretty good chunks of money with investing just a couple of grand, usually like $3,000, usually way less than $10,000, okay? So you buy a property from subject to, and you turn it into a rental property. So that's one way you can make money with a subject to. The next way you can make money with a subject to is what I call fix and flipping. And you guys already know what this is where you buy a property, you buy an ugly property, you put money into it, and then you rehab it, and then you sell it and make a profit. But what most people don't know is that instead of going to a hard money lender or a private money or just saving your own money to buy that ugly home, if the seller has existing loan, even if the seller doesn't have an existing loan, you can do creative financing. If the seller has an existing loan, you could do a subject to. If the seller doesn't have a loan and they own it free and clear, you just do owner financing. A subject to is like a parent of owner financing. I have a video on my YouTube channel that talks about 7 ways to do owner financing, and you can learn about what a subject to is, okay? And other ways to do owner financing, okay? Now, coming to the subject, we talked about renting it, we talked about fix and flipping. So subject to can be used greatly in buying fix and flips property, so you don't have to borrow the money, okay? Number 3 way you can make money with a subject to is wholesaling it. And many people don't understand this idea, okay? You could market to a motivated seller, get the deal under contract, and then you could wholesale it. I just did a video yesterday on Facebook, and I put it on my YouTube channel, so you can go check it out if you missed it. 2 ways, or who are 2 ways to sell your properties. For example, whenever you buy a property and you want to wholesale it, there's basically 2 kinds of end buyers for you. Number 1 is your investor, and then number 1 is your retail. I'm not going to go into debt, but I talked about that yesterday. So if you missed that, go watch it. So coming back to the story, 4 ways you can make money with subject tos. 1 is renting it. 2 is fix and flip. Number 3 is you can wholesale it. And what is wholesaling? Wholesaling is where you do the marketing, you find a motivated seller, you do all the negotiation, you put it on a contract, and then you turn around and market the property and find the end buyer, okay? And all you do is, you don't need no money, no credit, anything besides sweat equity. That's the great thing about America. All you do then is you assign your contract, or you assign your positioning, or you're basically, in other words, you're just telling the end buyer, hey, I'm gonna give you the right to perform what I was going to with this motivated seller. Okay, I'm just gonna step out and let you guys do the transaction. And for that, I want an assignment fee. To do this, to be a wholesaler, you don't need a you don't need a license, you don't need a realtor license, because you're acting for your own interest, you're your own principal. Whenever you go and talk to this motivated seller, you're not saying, hey, can I list your property? You're not saying, hey, can I find you a buyer? You're not doing any of that. That's what realtors do. As an investor, you're going in there and say, hey, Joe, I want to get the best price, and you start negotiating with the guy, if it's cash, if it's terms or whatever, and you're doing it on your behalf. But instead of going to the closing with the title company, your end buyer goes in there, and your end buyer could be, like we talked about yesterday, an investor or a retail buyer. So now let's go recap real quick. We talked about 4 ways you could make money with subject twos. Number 1 is you could be a landlord like what I do. You could do fix and flips. I don't do that. I don't like it, but if you like it, good for you. You can do wholesaling. This is what I teach my students when they get into the game. I'm like, hey, when you want to get in real estate, fuck all the other stuff, because it's so risky and it's so labor intense and financially risky, all dimensions, and you have to have a significant amount of education. So it's better off to learn this game. It's better off to do squats, pull-ups, push-ups, the foundation, and then decide which channel you want to be an expert in per se. Okay? And now let's talk about the 4th one. And the 4th one is a really, really cool way to do. The 4th one is what banks do, okay? Like you're now becoming a bank, because you're becoming a lender. On the 4th way to make money with subject twos is what's called wrapping. You're creating a new note. You're becoming the lender. Let me give you a quick example. You're an investor, you market, you find a motivated seller, you negotiate, and a deal, the seller's willing to give you his monthly payments. He's allowing you to just take over his monthly payments. His monthly payments is $1,000. His mortgage is $100,000, and let's say his interest rate is 5%. So just to make it simple, guys, okay? I'm freestyling, you know, I don't have anything written down. I just want to make sure we're all following, okay? So again, it's $100,000 his mortgage, $1,000 his monthly payments, and 5% interest rate. So you talk to this seller, you market it, you got the deal on the contract from this motivated seller, and now on the step number 4, what you're gonna do is you're gonna go to closing, you're gonna get the deed under your name, okay? And now you're gonna sell it to a retail buyer. That's one way to do it, okay? You sell it to a retail buyer. And whenever you sell it to a retail buyer, what you're gonna do is, you know, you're gonna create a new note, which means you're gonna become a lender, you're gonna become the bank. And let's say the property, you bought it at marginal, you bought it, the loan value is 100, the properties, let's say, is worth 120, and then since you're doing owner financing, you're providing more easier terms, you're able to increase the price a little bit, not tremendously, but a little bit, because it's more luxurious, not go to all that closing fees and getting a loan. And you know, so some business owners, some other people that can't get loans are willing to do this. So what you do is, the house is worth 120, you bought it for, the loan value was 100, you say, hey, I'm gonna sell it for 130, so you just make $30,000 in the back end, okay? And what you're gonna do is you're gonna ask the seller to give you, let's say, $10,000 up front. And the other thing you're gonna do is you're gonna increase the interest rate. The interest rate was 5%. Now what you're gonna do is, let's say you're gonna charge 4%, so it's 9% now. And therefore, that monthly payments is gonna come up. So your underlying mortgage or your payments to that old seller was $1,000, but since you're charging an extra 4% on interest, okay, because his loan was 5%, now you're getting a surplus. And that surplus is gonna be your phase 2 of making money. And then you got your phase 3, which is the back end cash. So let's say the seller is sitting here paying you for like 5 years or 10 years or whatever, and then he decides to refinance it out, or he decides to sell it. That's when you're gonna get your back end cash flow, okay? If that makes any sense. Now, the benefit of doing the lending and creating new note is that you don't have to deal with all the bullshit that the first guy, like myself, has to deal with, which is fixing the plumbing, fixing the roof, I gotta pay holding fees, somebody's not there, all that other stuff, okay? Because whenever you sell it and you do a wrap to a retail buyer, you're giving them the deed, which means they're going to be the owner of the property. They're going to have pride in the home. It's not like they're renters. Does that make sense? Because they're tired of being in a rat race. So that's the great thing. The disadvantages, you know, there are some, but I don't want to go into that right now. It gets more complex, okay? But on the fourth part, which is basically becoming a lender, there's basically two ways to do it, okay? The first way is what I just told you, okay? The second way is where the deed doesn't come into your name, okay? What you do is you allow the seller and that buyer to go to closing together, okay? And this buyer is going to do a mirror of the seller. So let's say the seller's was $1,000 a month, 5% interest rate, $100,000, okay? You're going to do a mirror where this guy is going to get exactly the same thing as this. But the difference is that now the deed never came into your name, and you're just basically allowing this guy to buy your pre-negotiated contract, which is the purchase contract or the assignment, okay? And you're gonna make money just from the down payment. Let's say this guy's gonna give 10, you keep all of it, and this guy's gonna make the monthly payments, if that makes sense. So in this scenario, when you do the wrap, okay, if the loan was 100 and your assignment fee was $5,000 to this retail buyer, then you're just gonna put it for sale for 105. And when they go to closing, you're gonna get the 5, if that makes any sense, guys. If you were gonna assign it for 10,000, then whenever you went to closing, this buyer would just start paying this guy's monthly payments, and the title company will give you your 10, and the balance, the debt balance or the debt principal for this buyer would be 100 now, equally as what this seller's loan is, because again, it's called a mirror. You're just mirroring it, okay? And all you're doing is bringing these two together, or signing you're signing your rights for this guy to buy it, and you're gonna get the down payment. Depends on what you negotiate with the seller, however you structure it, okay? But simply put, two ways to do it. One is the deed comes in your name, and then you wrap it out. The other one is that the deed does not come in your name. It just goes into the seller and the buyer, and you're getting your assignment fee. The difference between the loan balance from whatever you wholesale that out to, per se, because you could wholesale a wrap. Does that make sense? If that makes any sense. Anyways, I hit up on the 4 major ways to make money. One second. I hit up on 4 major ways to make money with subject to deals. Now, it doesn't matter what your investment strategy is. If you want to be a landlord, if you want to be a fucking fix and flipper, you want to be a wholesaler, if you want to be a lender, this is a great strategy to have in your briefcase, because without this, you know, you could get easy funding without qualifications, and you know, you should be a prudent investor. If you don't know what the fuck you're doing, then don't go out there and promise people you're gonna take it over to current payments. That's not what I'm talking about. But if you know what the fuck you're doing, always, instead of going to the bank and say, hey, can I please borrow some more money for my next rental property or for my next flip? He's like, fuck you, dude. I got another way to do it, okay? Does that make sense? If that makes any sense, all right? I'm not an attorney, I'm not anything like that, but I'm going to a subject to deal closing. Just a couple of months ago, I had another subject to closing. So apparently the title companies accept it, the title policy accepts it, the lenders are willing to fund it. I don't know shit, dude. I'm just a refugee. I'm just letting you know, I'm just a guide, dude. I'm just letting you know what's happening for me. You make up your own fucking mind. I don't got nothing to sell, okay? You guys have any questions? Any questions, Soraya?
No questions yet. We got a comment from Lamont. He says good stuff.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it, guys. Go out there and hustle and bustle. Fucking naysayer. Don't believe anybody until you do your own diligence, man. See you later, gang.